Hello everyone. So today I wanted to discuss some books related to the Bhagavad Gita, a crucial text in Indian philosophy, in Hinduism, and some literary criticism books also related to the Gita and primarily the Gita and then the Mahabharata. So let me just start with the most basic book that you may find in India regarding the Bhagavad Gita is this one. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Yatharup. Yatharup here means as it is. So it claims to be as what was written in the original and as one-to-one translation from Sanskrit to Hindi or even English version you can find. And this is by this learned person, Swami Prabhupada Vishwa. So this is one book which is very common in India. So most households have it, and it is also a popular gift to other people, and most shops also have it, I've seen. So this is a good book, a basic understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. You can get 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita and translate it into simple Hindi or English, and one can learn from this. So this is the most basic book. Now let's move on to some literary analysis, and this is the first book that I would recommend. This is step one, I would say. My Gita by Devdutt Patnaik. So right off the bat, I would say the title is very important, because the author in his disclaimer only, he tells that this is his interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita. Because in Indian philosophy, in Hinduism, there are multiple ways to look at the relationship between human and God, or depending on your philosophy, you can either believe that everything is just part of one supreme being, or that there is a separation between the worshipper and the worshipped, that there are differences between God and the worshipper. So depending on that, you may interpret the Gita in a totally different manner. So apart from that, so for example, here let me just show you some important. So as always, you can always find some helpful diagrams in Mr. Devdutt's book. Yeah, this is the structure of the Gita as he has shown in the very third page only. So there are 18 chapters in the original Bhagavad Gita, and in the first chapter itself there is the problem posed, where Arjun is asking Krishna that how can he fight his own family members, right? And from chapter number 2 to chapter number 18, Krishna is basically giving him this inspiration to fight the war. It is a just war, and he gives basically 3 explanations, or you can say 3 philosophical routes to make him understand that what he is doing is just and he should just go with it. And the first one is karma, which means action. Second is bhakti, which means worship, and the third one means Gyan Yoga, which means you can say intellectualism, you can say the path of the knowledge, the knowledgeable path. So these are the 3 main paths in Indian philosophy towards worship of the ultimate, the divine, to know the divine. You can either do it by action, by worship, or by knowledge, by knowing. And I'm just simplifying. This is not a philosophy video. So this primarily is why Gita is so well known in Indian circles, because all 3 paths before the Bhagavad Gita was written, or Mahabharata was written, these 3 paths were not reconciled in any manner. So this is the peak of you can say ancient Hindu literature, and it still remains the peak, the Bhagavad Gita. So that's why that's how it is explained here, and how it can be interpreted according to one's philosophical bent, whether he is Vedanti, which means whether he believes in one supreme spirit or 2, or whether there is some duality there or not. So it can be interpreted in various ways, and that has been discussed in this book. Another thing was this, that the 700 verses or shlokas of the Bhagavad Gita, if one does a simple read of it, he or she may find it very confusing, because in some verses there is the discussion about the Gyan Marg, in second there is Bhakti Marg, then again Gyan Marg. So it might seem a bit of a mess to some people. Some people might get it right off the bat, but it can appear disoriented, at least disorganized. So here these are the themes in the Gita originally, as it is shown from 1st to 18, and here in this book Devdutt Patnaik ji has reorganized these themes according to convenience of the reader, and I think for himself also. But it doesn't take anything away from it, because I think even after you read the Bhagavad Gita, the important thing is you get the message and the themes, right? So the order I don't think is that important. So yeah, you will at least learn something new, right? Some historical background, and how many interpretations are there, how many regional this commentaries, retellings, translations are there. So yeah, you will learn a lot from this book, I think. My Gita. It's a small book. It's paperback edition, available in English, Hindi both, and it's 250 to 40 pages long only. Very simple book, very easy to understand for the lay audience. So you can either keep this original Gita book side by side, and you can compare whether what he's saying is correct or not, or whether it suits your understanding or not. So after that, let's move on to the next book, which is this, Meghnad Desai's Who Wrote the Bhagavad Gita? A Secular Inquiry into a Sacred Text. This is also a very small book, roughly 150 pages, and this is strictly literary analysis, that it goes into depth, historical depth, and what were the political motivations perhaps for writing this book, when it was written, and how it has been reinterpreted time and time again by our political leaders in the freedom movement, how Gandhi ji interpreted it, how Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji reinterpreted it, and how Ambedkar ji was critical of it, and possibly was it written by just one person, as is commonly known that Mahabharata is written by Ved Vyas ji, and was he just one person? Was it a school, or was it a tradition which was named Ved Vyas? So no one really knows this, but it's usually attributed to just one person. But here the literary analysis shows some different conclusion. Primarily the author uses, let me just show you, this person's in the selected bibliography, G.S. Khairji, this professor's thesis. Basically he's using his viewpoint that the original Gita can be divided into 3 parts, and based on that he's saying that maybe the Bhagavad Gita, at least some portions of it, seem to be written by 3 different persons at 3 different points of time with 3 different worldviews. So it is quite possible, I'm not sure, but when you read it, one thing is very clear, that if you take the original Mahabharata and if you remove this portion of the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita chapters from it, the story still seems very linear. The flow is not broken by removing the Bhagavad Gita, which is very odd, considering it's one of the most influential lessons of 2-3 millennia. But it seems to have no impact in the story of Mahabharata, because as many people might know, Mahabharata is a very tragedy in its core. Nothing good really happens at the end. Maybe just the Bharat clan continues on, but still it's a very tragic story. And that's one of the most interesting facts that I have come to see, because it changed my view that maybe if you can just maybe it was inserted later on, or what could it mean, that I leave it up to you. But this is very deep literary analysis, I would say, and explained in a very simple manner. So this is another literary analysis. The next one, let's come to this one, Yugant, the end of an epoch, So this is a literary analysis of the Mahabharata itself, not the Gita, of which Mahabharata, Gita is a part of Mahabharata. So this is again a very small book, roughly 200 pages, and it's written by this remarkable woman, Irawati Karve, and I think she was she was basically a sociologist. So here the Mahabharata has been discussed from a societal point of view, and I must say this one is a masterpiece regarding criticism of literary analysis of Mahabharata. I think this is one of the masterpieces, because I'll just show you the index. Let's see. Just a second. Yeah. So these are the 11 chapters here, and I must say this fifth chapter, it just blew my mind. And in the introduction also, even if you haven't read the Mahabharata, well, it will obviously help if you read it, read the original story. Any good book about it is will suffice, but in the introduction itself, Irawati ji has given a short summary of the whole story. So even if you have missed it or have forgotten some elements, it is given in a very short manner, but it will obviously help if you read the story first and then come to this literary analysis. And this fifth chapter, I must say, it was pretty new to me. What she's theorizing here, I'll just say it, that there is a character Vidur, and she is saying basically that it's possible that Vidur was actually the father of Yudhishthir, or Vidur or Yudhishthir were the same person. Not the same person, sorry. That Vidur was actually the father of Yudhishthir, and if you see the whole Mahabharata in that light, it will completely change how you view the story. That why was Vidur so reluctant towards Dhritarashtra's efforts and was favoring the Pandavas? It makes sense then, and there are some reasons to believe it. But yeah, this was completely new to me. You will find such interesting things here, in every chapter. But this was the most interesting, so I thought I would share it. And the final chapter also, the end of Yuga. I may have something to say about this, because I don't know if I agree completely with her, because she's saying in this chapter that texts like Mahabharata, and even in Greek mythology like Iliad or Odyssey, these are very, they keep human emotions and tragedies at their core, which I think is which she says also that it's a sign of maturity, that you face life as it is, that bad things happen and we have to deal with it. But somehow she says that the end of Yuga also means, here in her words, that somehow the stories that became popular in India, especially after Mahabharata, they were all related to Purans, and there were very happy-go-lucky type of stories. So even if there is a thief who's running from the cops, and somehow he stumbles onto a shivling and he starts praying to it, and Shivji just gives him a boon and he's pardoned for his sins. So it gives some sort of false hope that even if you have done something bad, just pray to God and everything will be all right. So this simplistic understanding of life, and even stories like even Bollywood stories, she's alluding to it, that people like happy-go-lucky stories, happy endings, and but the Mahabharata doesn't have an happy ending. It's very tragic. So that's what she's missing. She says that this is missing from the popular imagination, and I may agree with it, but I don't know if it's completely true or not, that people are maybe they know the tragedy too well, so that's why they like to watch this. It's not escapism, I think. People can enjoy both tragedies and comedies. So I'm not sure about the end conclusion of it. I may be completely naive. I'm not a sociologist. She was a sociologist. So yeah, please read this book, and then we can discuss about the conclusion. But these short essays on the major characters of the Mahabharata, it will give you a new understanding of the epic that is Mahabharata. And another thing was that remarkably, I had just finished this some last month, and I got to know that a new book is coming out from her family. descendant only. I don't remember if it's her daughter or granddaughter. A biography of Irawati Karve ji. She was a remarkable woman. She did her some PhD thesis, and under the British, I think, I don't know, in foreign country, and she had to submit a thesis which had to support the evidence for this some racial theory about the skull shapes and how the superior races had different skull shape, and she had to basically prove that that was indeed the case, and she had the courage to go out and find evidence contrary to it, and she submitted that evidence. I think that's what I read. So she indeed was a remarkable person, and this book, I think this book came out in 1970 roughly, so it's 50 years old, but I think still one of the best literary criticisms of Mahabharata. So yeah, please read this one also. And then next, let's move on to this Mahabharata, the Epic and the Nation by Ganeshnath Devy ji. This again, this is a relatively new book, and Ganeshnath Devy ji, he's a famous, very prominent linguist from India, and this person, I think, deserves every praise for his work, not only on this book, because he has devoted his whole life towards preserving the local dialects and languages which are disappearing at a very rapid rate from India. So he published, I think, a linguistic survey of India, public linguistics, I don't remember, but so he has done a lot of work on languages and tribal cultures, and that's why this book has a lot of his experience also, because basically he's saying that the Mahabharata, the story itself, it is commonly agreed among the scholars that it started from a very small short story, which was originally called Jaya, and slowly other elements also got added to it. The story grew and grew, and it became, from Jaya it became to Bharat. It became a story about the clan and Bharatvarsh, and then finally Mahabharata. So how this evolution occurred, at what time period it might have occurred, and why this, he calls Mahabharata the national epic, and including me, I think he places Mahabharata at a much greater level than Ramayana at uniting the country, because it's basically a theory that as the Bharat clan or the Bharat kingdom was expanding, it sought to include other areas in it, and so maybe their stories, their customs also got added into this epic, and that's how this epic grew, the Mahabharata. And it is quite possible, and it's a very short book, was some 130 pages long, and it's really interesting. And he also compares it with the other great epics of English literature, like the Aeneid, William Shakespeare's Dante's Divine Comedy, right? And the impact which this epic had on India versus the other epics that we know of not around the earth. I think he covers majorly English literature only, but definitely the Iliad and the Odyssey also. You all know, I mean, what impact Iliad Odyssey has on the modern world? Very little, I think, and versus what impact Mahabharata has till today in India. Right. So what might be the reason for this? And that's what he is arguing in this book. So this is a very small book. I think anyone who has actually read the other epics is maybe aware of Shakespeare's works, or the Aeneid or Iliad and Odyssey, and so they can understand this book, I think, much better because of the social impact that those texts had versus this text. So so please also give this book also a try. And the last book that I will discuss today is this one, Ramayana versus Mahabharata, a playful comparison by Mr. Devdutt Patnaik. So again, with the title, a disclaimer that this is his comparison, so take it with a grain of salt. This is also paperback edition, very small book, some 180 pages long, and I'll just show you the index. So obviously you need some idea of Ramayana and Mahabharata before reading this. And again, this is also, he's written a playful comparison, but I think this is literary analysis at its best and simplest, because it's for the masses, and beautifully written. I think I'll just show you the index. Yeah, see here the narration style of both epics, how family has been discussed in both the epics, right? Both speak of single parents, both refer to the power of faithful wives. Both have Vedic gods as subordinate characters, which is these things, when you read, you get a new perspective on these epics, even if you know the epics. But these books, expand your knowledge on these, give you new perspectives. So exile, both speak of a forest exile, both refer to alternate realities. This even I have forgotten what was written here. Okay, war, both refer to Shudra killing and Brahman killing. This is something which is very political, but both have these references, and depending on the political inclination, it can be seen in either way. And retellings, this I have marked important because both epics have multiple retellings, regional forms, and even beyond India, they have been adapted in various forms. So in Thailand, the Ramakian version is of the Ramayana is very famous there, and it's equally good. How different people have, embraced this story and made it their own. That is also very interesting. Both have inspired novels since the 19th century. So nowadays, are very character-centric stories or reimaginings are becoming popular. Like in the Greek mythology video, I discussed Circe and Medusa and Song of the Achilles. These are new books, and which continue to inspire and appreciate the old epics. And both epics draw attention to the idea of infinity, wisdom, these themes of wisdom. And both refer to the queer, because Shikhandi as a character, such an important character in Mahabharata. And in Ramayana, I forgot. Maybe I'm forgetting which character. But okay. So, yeah, this is also a great book. Again, you can find multiple identical structure. Yeah, so, and this back cover also basically has a very nice summary, sort of Venn diagram of Ramayana and Mahabharata. These things are contrast, and these are the common things. So I'll just let you look at it for a while. Here the god is shown as king, which is Ram. Here the god is shown as kingmaker, which is Krishna, and both are reincarnations of Vishnu. And here gambling is shown, here restraint is shown. So a very nice comparison, a sort of Venn diagram table. So yeah, please read these books and discuss and share whatever knowledge you gain from these. You will definitely learn new things. So yeah, okay, happy reading.